When people hear the word psychopath, they imagine serial killers, cold eyes, violent crimes, no remorse. But what if I told you some psychopaths never go to prison? Some become powerful, some become successful, some become admired, and some may already exist in your workplace, your relationships, even your family. Because psychopathy is not always loud, sometimes it's charming. As a psychiatrist, one biggest misconception I see is the idea that psychopaths are always violent criminals. The reality is much more disturbing. Psychopathy is not officially a diagnosis in psychiatric manuals like depression or schizophrenia. Clinically, we often discuss it under a condition called antisocial personality disorder. But psychopathy goes deeper. A psychopath may understand emotions intellectually, but may not feel them normally. They can recognize fear. They recognize sadness, recognize guilt. But emotionally, those feelings may not register the same way, which means they can mimic empathy without actually experiencing it. This is where it becomes dangerous. Many psychopaths are incredibly charming, confident, calm under pressure, persuasive, charismatic. In fact, some studies suggest that psychopathic traits can actually help people rise in highly competitive environments. Because unlike most people, they may feel very little fear, guilt, or emotional hesitation. They can manipulate without remorse, lie without anxiety, and detach emotionally even when others cannot. That's why psychopathy doesn't exist only in prisons. It can exist in boardrooms, politics, cults, even relationships. Not all psychopaths become killers. This is extremely important to understand. Some are what psychologists informally call functional psychopaths. These are individuals who may have psychopathic traits but remain socially successful. They may become CEOs, high-risk traders, powerful leaders, influential personalities. Externally, they may appear successful, but internally, relationships often become transactional. People become tools. Manipulation becomes a strategy. Control becomes power. And because they often appear intelligent and composed, many people never recognize what's happening until emotional damage has been already done. One of the most unsettling parts of psychopathy is emotional absence. Most human beings are internally controlled by guilt, empathy, fear, and emotional attachment. Psychopaths, on the other hand, may experience these emotions very differently, or sometimes minimally. Brain imaging studies have shown reduced activities in areas linked to empathy and emotional processing, which may explain why some psychopaths can hurt people without feeling emotional conflict afterwards. This does not mean every psychopath is violent, but it does mean emotional consequences that stop most people may not stop them. And this is why psychopathy fascinates society, because it forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. What happens when intelligence exists without empathy? But there's other important truth here. Not every manipulative person is a psychopath. Not every toxic relationship involves psychopathy. And mental illness alone does not create violence. Human behavior is far more complex than internet labels. Real psychiatric evaluation takes time, history, behavioral patterns, trauma, personality structure, and clinical assessment. So the goal of this conversation is not fear, it's understanding. Because sometimes the most dangerous people are not the loudest. They are the ones who know exactly how to appear normal. And that's what makes psychopathy so psychologically unsettling. If you enjoy deep dives into human mind, psychiatry, and psychological investigations, subscribe to this channel. Because human behavior is often far stranger than fiction.